Okay, so this is the second sheet of fractions. The first one is 5 1/2, and we're subtracting 2 and 10 over 24. You know, there's a couple different things we can do here. We could just leave it as it is, but I see something right away. Zoom in a little bit more here so you guys can see this a little bit better. I can see that 10 over 24 can be reduced. We can work with that, and I can think of a number that goes into 10 and a number that goes into 24, and that's 2. So I could rewrite this one as 2, and 2 goes into 10 5 times, and 2 goes into 24 12 times. So that's really 2 and 5/12. So smaller numbers, it's always kind of nice to work with smaller numbers. All right, so now I'm going to set this up vertically here. So now we have 5 1/2, and I'm subtracting 2 and 5/12. Okay? So the common denominator is 12. So this is going to be 5/12. It just stays the same. 2 goes into 12 6 times 1 is 6. So 5 from 6 is 1/12. Okay, and 2 from 3 is 3. So it's 3 and 1/12. Okay, so you guys follow along. That was number 1. Let me pull a stick here. Miss Stockland's not here. Several students are gone. I'm bound to pick somebody that's here. Miss Nealons, pick another problem that you'd like to see me do. Be quick, please.
Okay, 14.
Number 14, the last one here. So let's look at number 14. So number 14 is 7 3/4, 7 3/4, and I'm just going to go ahead and set it up vertically here. We're subtracting 4 and 17 over 20. Okay? Well, again, a common denominator. 4 will go into 20 evenly, and 20 obviously goes into 20 evenly. So this would be just simply 17 over 20. So 4 goes into 20 how many times? 5 times. 5 times 3 is 15. Okay, now we've got a problem here. We've done a couple problems like this the last few days. Let me see if I can get this to focus a little bit better. Where this numerator, this is a subtraction problem, is larger than this one here. So we're going to have to borrow. So the 7 becomes a 6, and then we just add the denominator, because if we're borrowing, we borrowed 1. Another way in this problem here to write 1 is 20 over 20. So we would just add 20 to the top. So I'm going to put a little plus 20. So this becomes 35 over 20, and we're subtracting 17 over 20. Okay? And so 17 from 35, I'll just come over here, and I'll put 17, and I'm going to subtract that from 35. Well, gosh, there's a couple different ways. You could just mentally do it. 3 more would make this 20, and then 15 more would make it 35. I'd add 3 and 15, that's 18, so I know that's what's left over. So 18 over 20, and 4 from 6 is 2. So are we done with that? Anybody? No, we're not done. So I can think of a number that would go into 18 and 20, and that would be 2. 2 goes into 18 9 times, and 2 goes into 20 10 times. So the final answer would be 2 and 9/10. Okay? And let me do one more with you guys. Let's see here. Miss Hicks, you pick one that you'd like to see me do.
2.
Which one?
2.
Number 2. Okay, so let's look at number 2 here. So I'm going to set up 2 vertically here. It's 7 8/9, and we're subtracting 3 and 11 over 36. All right, So what's the common denominator? What do you guys think?
36.
Yeah, 36. We know 9 will go into 36. Okay, so this is just going to be 11 over 36. So 9 goes into 36 4 times, and 4 times 8 is what? Somebody tell me. 32. Okay. Well, this one kind of works out nicely because we can just subtract the 11 from the 32, which makes it 21. So 21 over 36. And 3, we didn't have to borrow. 3 from 7 is 4. Now, are we done with that? No, we can reduce that. I can think of a number that will go into 36 and 21. What comes to mind? Mr. Rosowski, what do you think?
7.
7. Does 7 go into 36 evenly?
No.
I don't think so, but 3 does. 3 goes into 21 how many times?
7.
7 times. How many times does 3 go into 36?
12.
12. So there's your final answer for number 2. All right. And I think we could do one more. Let me see here. Frosty, what do you think? Pick one.
4.
Number 4, he says. All right, number 4, it's 7 2/3. And we're subtracting 1 and 11 over 30. Okay. What would be a good common denominator? What do you guys think?
30.
Mr. Villegas?
30.
Yeah, it would be 30. So this would just come straight over, so that says 11 over 30. Well, 3 goes into 30 10 times, obviously. 10 times 2 is 20. Well, again, this is kind of convenient. I don't have to borrow anything, Miss Nealons. I can just subtract 11 from 20. And what would that be?
11.
No. Think about it this way. How many more from 11 would I need to get to 20? It's kind of like addition. Start adding to 11 until I get to 20. Yeah, 9. So it'd be 9 over what?
30.
30. Glad you're paying attention. And then 1 from 7 is 6. 6 and 9/30. Now, Mr. Clifton, let me pick on you for a moment here. 9 over 30. Is there a number that would go into both of those evenly? Yeah, think about it. Think of a small number. Comes after 2 and it's before 4.
3.
Yeah, there you go, 3. Okay. So 3 goes into 9 how many times? How many times does 3 fit into 9? You had it on your hand, but I can't hear you. What's that?
2.
Well, that's 6. How many times does 3 go into 9?
3.
3 times.
Said that already.
Oh, well, you got to speak up. I'm old and got a lot of gray hair, and I can't hear so well. So then my next question is, how many times does 3 go into 30? What times 3 is 30?
Wait, what?
Shh. You're just drawing a blank, all this pressure. Miss Reyes, help him out.
10.
10. Okay. So there's the final answer for that one. Okay. I think I'm going to do one more with you guys. Mr. McWilliams, pick one.
13.
13, he says. So I'll just do 13 over here. Okay. Miss Nealons. So let's set this one up here. 8 and 8 over 14. And then we're subtracting 1 and 24 over 56. Oh my gosh, that looks kind of tough. So, Miss Nealons, any idea what the common denominator would be?
Probably 56. 56.
I would guess 56. The question is, how many times does 14 go into 56? So let's see. Oh, somebody's got their hand up already. Mr. Buckman, you know already. How many times does it go in? What's that?
4.
So 4 times 14 is 56. That makes sense to me. So I'll just put 56 as the common denominator. How convenient is that? So this is going to be 24. So, Miss Nealons, how many times did he say 14 went into 56?
4.
And 4 times 8 is? Shh. 4 times 8 is what? Mr. Texera, help her out. 32. All right. So, Miss Nealons, look at this problem right now. Am I going to need to borrow from the 8? Why do you think so? You don't know? Okay. Well, we'll stay in and work on this a little bit later. All right. So 24 from 32. So, Frosty, I could just count up from 24. So how many more adding to 24 would I need to get to 30? Because addition is always easier than subtraction. What's that?
2 times? Or no, 1?
No, I'm not sure you understand my question. So what do I need to add to 24 to get to 30? 6. If I add 6 to 24, I'd be at 30. How many more do I need to get to 32? 2. So 6 and 2 is 8, so there's going to be 8 left over. 8 over 56. All right, and 1 from 8 is 7. But am I done? No, I shouldn't have circled that because that's not the final answer here. Okay, so is there a number that will go into 8 and 56?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, 2 does, right? So 2 goes into 8 4 times. How many times does 2 go into 56? Mr. Storm, you had your hand up for a moment, and then you shot it down. Mr. Texera, what do you think?
28.
28. Yeah, 28. Now, am I done? I can think of a number again that goes into 4 and 28.
I did it.
That's okay if you did it differently. Mr. Texera?
4 can go into 4 once, and 4 can go into 28 7 times.
Yeah, so 7 and 1/7. Okay, because he used 4. 4 goes into 4 once, 4 goes into 28 7 times. So there's our final answer. Mr. Buckman, you said you did it differently. What did you do differently? Let me ask you first. You got this answer though, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what did you do? What did you do differently?
Instead of making it 2, or 2 fits into both of them, I said 8 fits into both of them.
Yeah, 8 goes into 8 once, and 8 goes into 56 7 times. That's right. Yep. Yep. Very good. Mr. Storm, question?
I was going to ask if we could do number 11.
Number 11. You're asking me to do one more. So I've done, you've got 14 problems. I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. You want me to do number 11? 11 looks kind of hard. All right. Let's do 11. This will be the last one. Shh. So 11 is 6 1/2. And we're subtracting 2 and 6/12. Subtracting 2 and 6/12. Oh, Mr. Storm, are you really? This one looked kind of hard to you?
No, it's because...
Okay, let's find out. Let's find out. So this would be 6/12, and 2 goes into 12 6 times. Times 1 is 6. Oh, I see here. Yeah, good question. So 6/12 and 6/12. So that's good. I'm glad you asked me about this one. If I subtracted 2 from 2, what do I get?
0.
If I subtracted 1/2 from 1/2, what do I get?
0.
What if I subtracted, let's say, 3,198 over 5,621. And so I was subtracting 3,198 from 5,621. What would I get? 0. So let's go back to this problem here. So if I subtracted 6/12 from 6/12, what would I get? 0. So we're done with that.
So it's just 4.
So the answer, as you said, is just 4. Okay? All right. Okay, end of the video.
Bye.
What number was that again, Mr. Storm?
11. Sub.
Like, subscribe, and if you want some more videos, press the notification bell.